Let's move on now to focus on a couple of issues we've talked about already today, trust and security, specifically in the context of the future of banking and disrupting stability. Meredith Wheelhouse from Deloitte is going to be in conversation with the CEO of AMP, Alexis George. Please welcome Meredith and Alexis to the stage.
You.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Meredith Wheelhouse. I'm a partner at Deloitte Digital. And at Deloitte, I lead our growth agenda for our banking clients. So I am delighted to bring you this conversation with Alexis George today, CEO of AMP Limited. The team at AMP have just recently this year launched AMP Bank Go, a digital-only bank serving unique customer needs for small business and modern customers. Fully digital, and I'm really curious to find out more about what the team has been up to. Alexis, before we jump in there though, a note. We can't discuss the financial results in question time, so I appreciate your support with that. Alexis, let's jump into it. What sparked the idea behind AMP Bank Go?
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like a little kid here. I can't reach the floor, so swinging my feet.
Get comfortable.
But anyway, yeah, thank you. I think, when we started to sit back in those times of COVID, when most of the banking industry received some money which was cheaper than normal, as a group, we really started to think about our bank, which at that point was just a deposit taker and a lender of mortgages. And we said, if we really want to be successful into the future, what are we going to do differently? Where can we make a difference to the customer base? And so we did a lot of research about what the availability of services was for the various different customers in the environment, and really got to the point that there was a real opportunity in what we now call that mini business space. So either sole entrepreneurs or less than 19 employees. So in that space, we felt, most of the banks weren't that focused in there. It was a fragmented offering. They tend to mix their personal and business services quite easily. So what could we do differently to make it easier for that sector? And that really was the genesis of AMP Bank Go and where it is today.
Yeah, that's fantastic. As someone who really believes in taking a human-centred design approach, I really love the idea of deeply understanding different customer segments and making those nuanced choices to be able to serve their needs and understand their preferences. And, from our research, we really understand that that segment of customer loves to do things digitally, loves to do it on the go, and don't have a lot of time to be kind of coming in and having those face-to-face conversations. So certainly wonderful idea, but how do we go from an idea to actually, launching AMP Bank Go? Can you talk us through some of the choices that you've had to make there? And I think, those choices are very familiar to many of us. Do we buy, do we build, or do we partner? So I'd love to understand more about, that particular aspect.
Yeah, well, I think we know that banking is becoming a scale game, and we're a bank with about 20-odd billion of lending and 20-odd billion of deposits. So doing it alone, building ourselves, we quickly ruled out as an option. We knew we had to partner with someone who'd done it before, who had expertise in this space, and who could not only give us expertise, but that cultural change that we wanted to occur, because we're a 176-year-old company with deep heritage and a deep brand, but we're much more smaller now, and we have to act and think like a challenger. So we wanted someone who could help us drive that cultural change. So with the team, really looked around globally and locally, was there someone in this space that we could learn from, that we could maybe gain some of those scale advantages? And that's how we really got to the UK, similar regulatory environment. The consumers are similar in that small business. And we met Starling, who, at least when we met them, were the only profitable digital bank. I think there might be one more now, but certainly at that point they were the only ones. and really had a solution that we loved and we thought we could bring to Australia and build on and help those customers that we just identified, those 2.3 million odd mini businesses.
That's awesome, and they certainly fuel our economy here.
Yeah.
As you were thinking through that kind of partnership with Starling, what were some of the, I guess, principles that you applied when thinking through that? You touched a little bit on kind of bringing some of the potential kind of ways of working to do things at speed, but I'd love to understand more about, you've made the choice to partner, okay, where to from here and how do we apply that within our business?
Yeah, I think the overriding mantra was, and as humans we're not very good at this, but I think our CEO drove it, adopt, not adapt, right? We always say we're going to adopt someone else's technology, and before you know it, we've got our fingers in the pie saying, but we want to adapt that because it doesn't quite work here. But I think we really stuck true to that adopt, not adapt. Of course, that's not true if you've got to put in new payments rails, which we did, and some of the nuances of the environment. Of course, you have to do it there, but being really rigorous about that. And the second thing, and I mentioned it before, was around the cultural aspects of looking at Starling, right? A very successful digital bank, had really grown exponentially over a short period of time. Why do we think we can do it better? So let's learn from them. We brought some of their people to Australia for periods of time to embed within our teams as we started to build the team. So I think they were really critical things for us, and genuinely partnering on that development phase. And, you know, look, I'm really proud of the fact, and I don't think this happens very often, we put a new digital bank in market in about 12 months from the time we started. Now, except it was a minimum viable product, but I think that's pretty unique to be able to do that in 12 months, and it definitely was those mantras of adopt, not adapt, learn from Starling as we implemented Engine.
And what were some of those key, perhaps cultural learnings, and indeed maybe challenges as you bumped into that rich history that you touched upon that AMP has with, a fintech that is highly profitable, going fast, trying to get things into market quickly with the ambition that you spoke about. Maybe you could share a little bit around that and maybe some of the lessons learned we could take from that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we are a traditional company and there's benefits from that, trust, security, safety. But we knew we had to go fast, and so we knew we had to go agile, and we had to go agile across, we were working with partners, of course, Engine and Starling in the UK, but we had development partners in Poland, and we're here. And so that was a real challenge. How do we work agile across those 3 different countries? How do we devolve responsibility and decision making away from just the executives? And that's always challenging. We like to control everything. So I think they're some of the things, and actually bringing people physically together. Yes, we've got great technologies today with virtual meetings, etc. But I think the power of that connection at certain critical points in the program, specifically when we were doing reviews of what we delivered, was incredibly important. And I think, it was those things. But, what was challenging for us, devolving some of those decision makings down the chain, incredibly challenging. Not wanting to have everything be perfect before we tried it with the customers, incredibly challenging when you've got a brand like ours, but we gave it a go, and that's how we managed to do what we did.
Yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations. You mentioned earlier at the start of the conversation around doing a lot of deep research into what your customers' needs were. And it sounds like you've had a huge cultural change in order to deliver against that. I'm curious, as you kind of pivoted the organisation to be much more customer-led, can you talk a little bit around, how you did that, how that helped you to get that MVP into market in a way that resonated with your customers?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have a leader in our bank who is absolutely on this customer centricity journey, and I think built the team around that. And so for me, the first thing, and I just kind of mentioned it before, let's take a minimum viable product and start testing with customers and observing what they actually do as opposed to what we think they do, and getting their feedback almost from the first day about what would work for them and what would not. Because as I said, we weren't focusing on what bankers traditionally call SME. We're focused on mini businesses. So one-man bands, less than 20-man bands. We know that many of them have to do their own accounting or payroll or whatever, sitting on the lounge at night watching Love Island or whatever's on at the moment, MasterChef. So we know they're doing the business. So we know they often do business on their phones. So how do we just make it simple for them to run their personal lives, to run their business lives, and do it at a time when it's convenient for them? So I think that was really important, to get that feedback and to be brave enough to put out something that wasn't fully formed, and to test and learn and iterate and make mistakes and reconvene and go in a different direction. So I think those things for us were really challenging. I mentioned we're a 176-year-old company. We've had our ups and downs, it'd be fair to say, and we were generally pretty risk averse, and this was forcing us to take a different look and a different way.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear that. One of the aspects around AMP Bank Go that I was very curious about was you launched a numberless debit card, and this conference we've spoken a lot around trust and bringing security to the forefront of how we serve our customers. So I was wondering if you could just share a little bit more about the design choices there, and then indeed, it certainly got a bit of a market reaction when it went there. So, curious to hear about some of the feedback that came through from your customers and where, how you took that on board and went forward.
I think the solution with Engine and with Starling, it's important to note that it is digital only. In fact, it's app only. So, and it's cloud native. So risk and security was part of everything that they built. It wasn't an afterthought like it has been for many of us in the new world we live in. It was something that was completely embedded with the solutions that we're offering customers, whether it's videos or other security controls we've put in play. I've got to say, the numberless card, while really important to prevent skimming and scams, it probably got a lot more attention than we had anticipated. And I think, quite a lot of morning TV, etc. And I think it was just the time, we're really facing into a time where there is a lot more fraud, scams, phishing, and it's an additional protection there for customers in protecting them without actually having to do anything differently. So, and it's unique in Australia, not unique in the rest of the world, but it was unique in Australia. So it's just another security feature. But I think that comes out of that digital native, cloud native, and just making risk, security part of everything we do rather than an afterthought.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. Audience, I'll pass to you in a moment's time for a question, so please do prepare them. Looking to the future, I'm really curious to learn more about the ambition. Where to from here? You've spoken a lot around the cultural change and the ways of working within your organisation. Saw some fantastic marketing out on the...
Tomorrow's a big day.
Yeah, that's right. So that's very exciting as well. So I'm very curious to learn and hear more about what is the ambition from here.
Yeah, well, firstly, as I said, whilst we've done a lot of development since our launch in February, I think now we've introduced savings accounts, we've introduced overdrafts for small business, but over the next 6-9 months, we will continue to drop new functionality, every other week. And so tomorrow we've got a massive launch and a lot of things happening over the next week, but it's about constantly iterating. It's about listening to the feedback through the various customer channels, and it's about just constantly delivering, reworking where we need to be. I mean, we're all focused on security these days, quite rightly so, but it's interesting when you try to put friction in, some customers don't like it. So how do we go back and rethink where we take that friction away? So I think just constantly iterating is the first thing. But the second thing I would say is that for us as an organisation, this program and this delivery has been really important for the cultural change as an organisation we want to embrace, which is about thinking like a challenger, being more agile, devolving decision makings to the people who are closer to the customers. So yes, it's really important, and I think we want to be out there serving those 2.3 million mini businesses, but it's far more important for our organisation than just that. It's really, I think, a roadway to the future.
Awesome, I love that. Audience, do you have any questions for Alexis on their journey with AMP Bank Go?
Want to listen to Anna?
While the audience absorb the sheer weight and heft of what you've covered there, I'll get the questions started.
Thank you.
It's interesting, you've said, and obviously this happens sometimes when organisations are brave enough to go first in this space. You then get followers and people coming into the space as well. What's the balance, Alexis, between continuing to evolve this product and keep it ahead of everyone else, and have you got other things in the pipeline that you can even vaguely hint about yet, where you guys plan to be first in leaders?
Well, if I hinted at that, Adam, it wouldn't be very sensible, would it?
You can keep the hints sufficiently vague.
Look, at the end of the day, if we look at the banking system in Australia, it's a fairly mature banking system, and I think we're all driving down the digital road whilst acknowledging that a warm body is still important at times. So I'm not naive about that. I think the fact that we're really focused, as I said, on that mini business space is unique, and that does have fragmented service providers, and we really want to be the place where they can come. And so we've integrated with Xero. We know that's important, but we'll bring other services to help that mini business sit in our space and be the sole provider to our space. So it'll be new services around supporting those customer bases is where we'll go into the future.
Fantastic. Anyone in the room wants to ask a question, just throw your hands in the air. Alexis will happily take them. You talked about Starling being the inspiration for it. Did you look at other examples worldwide of where people have tried this and got it wrong, or where these things have hit challenges? What are the sort of big challenges you have to overcome to get an offering like this right?
Well, I think we've seen several of those in this country as well. And it's why I mentioned the two things. Having just great technology isn't enough. I don't think we need to be able to build scale in these businesses. And that's why Starling was really important for us, because it already was a digital bank that had built scale in the places we wanted to play and had demonstrated that it could be sustainable and produce a return. Because while we want to serve that customer base, we have to be sustainable as well, and we have to produce returns. So I think it was the blend of those about why we chose them, but of course we looked at many solutions locally and internationally. And I think the fact that we were lucky enough that we started talking to them, and during that time they actually launched a partnership with a bank in Romania. So we had the opportunity to learn from that as well, not be the first ones there, and now they're talking to many others. And we want them to be successful, because I think the more scale they have, the better for us, and the better ideas we can get from what others are doing around the world and bring those ideas here.
Fantastic. To make offerings like this, you also need your own team to be really at the cutting edge of technology and the ability to do it. It seems, when I work across other industries, a highly sort of war on talent sector at the moment. What's the secret to creating good teams in this space and keeping them together long enough to roll out something from first idea on a whiteboard through to actual product that's in market?
Yeah, well, that's a really deep question, right? And I think, firstly, belief in what we're doing is incredibly important, but I think the culture of the organisation is incredibly important, and making sure we're all aligned to what we're trying to achieve here, which is a better outcome for the customers. I don't think you have to be an expert in technology. We're not building, well, we do have engineers who build it, but the execs are not building the technology. But I think if you're of any seniority in any industry today, if you don't have some curiosity around technology and what's happening in that space, you probably shouldn't be doing your job, because we all know it's changing at a rapid pace. We all know today will be the slowest day of change. So I don't think you have to be an expert, but you have to know how to deploy that and how we can make it friendly for our customers. But I think on the last panel they said something really important. While this is a digital app-only solution, and that's the primary interaction with us, we've also got a 24/7 contact centre, because we all know when you get in trouble, we like to speak to a human still. So I think it is the combination of the two. It's not just about technology. We should never forget that we're all human at the day and like that human interaction.
Fantastic. Back to you, Meredith.
Wonderful. Well, if there's no further questions, I'll say, Alexis, very grateful for your time today. Really enjoyed hearing about how you deeply understood your customers. You made the choice to partner. I love that philosophy around adopting rather than adapting to go fast. And I think, the theme overall that we've heard come through many of the conversations through the conference is trust. Trust is at the heart of what we do in this sector, and I love the focus that you put on that as you launched AMP Bank Go. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks very much.